The definition of long-term English learners varies from state to state, but in general, long-term English learners can be defined as students who have been in ESL or bilingual programs for 6 or more years and have not met the criteria to reclassify. Hi, everyone. I'm Valentina Gonzalez, an educational consultant and longtime educator working with multilingual learners and educators across the nation. Let's talk about long-term English learners. Who are they? Why haven't they met criteria to exit or reclassify? And what can we do to support our students who are classified as long-term English learners? It's very important that as educators working in schools and classrooms across the nation, we know our students very well. So if you're not sure that you have long-term English learners, the first thing to do is know your students well. Look at their student portraits and identify whether or not you are working with long-term English learners. Typically, long-term English learners are found in secondary settings, middle school and high school. And this is because, like the definition states, our long-term English learners have been in ESL or bilingual programs for 6 or more years. Every state has a different definition, and sometimes this even varies within the state in district levels. Now, let's think about these kids who have been in ESL or bilingual programs for an extended amount of time. These are kids who are going to be very different. We don't want to put a blanket statement over our long-term English learners. The only thing that they have in common is that they haven't met the criteria to reclassify. But the reasons for that can be very different. These are English learners who have taken English language assessments for years and have not met the criteria to exit or reclassify. Many of them are tired of taking these exams. Many of them don't know why they're still in our ESL or bilingual programs. Some of them lack literacy in English. Uh, some of them lack they have gaps in academic knowledge. And so it's different. It's different for each of our long-term English learners. And for that reason, we can't prescribe them the same instruction to fill the gaps that they have. We have to look at each individual long-term English learner and provide them with the instruction that they need specifically. Sometimes districts will look at their long-term English learners and say, okay, let's put them into this class. Let's give them this instruction. And not all of our long-term English learners need that instruction, because if a long-term English learner is missing certain academic instruction, they have gaps in academic instruction, but they're not missing literacy. They can read and write in English, and we put them in a remedial reading and writing class, that's not going to solve the problem. And the opposite is true as well. If they are missing literacy gaps and we put them in remedial academic courses, that doesn't solve the problem. Many of our long-term English learners, because they're in middle and high school grade levels, they suffer socially and emotionally because they feel inadequate. They feel as if they are marginalized. They feel like they are being punished and not able to participate like their peers. And long-term English learners historically have been at risk for dropping out. For the reasons that I just mentioned, many of them feel as if they are not able to participate with their peers. Some long term English learners lack access to courses they need to meet criteria to graduate, and that's really important. Many of them lack access to courses that they want to take because they're courses that they're passionate in, that they feel are important to them, and that's also important as kids get older. They feel they need courses that are relevant and compelling. And when we are in courses that are relevant and compelling, that helps to develop language too. So sometimes there's a certain type of conflict in educational settings when we're trying to grow language, but we're also trying to grow academics and content. And these two ideas are conflicting with one another. What we don't want to happen is for language acquisition, for language development, language proficiency to be a gatekeeper to important classes and content knowledge for long term English learners. We certainly don't want our long term English learners to be placed in the same classes as students who are newly arrived and at early levels of language proficiency, because those kids have very different needs than our kids who have been here for many, many years and have a different knowledge set and have very different linguistic needs. An advantage that we have with long term English learners is that they are older. At this point, they have been in school for many years by middle and high school. And so they have a level of maturity, and we can sit down with them one on one and set linguistic and academic goals with them side by side, and also let them know what is keeping them from reclassifying and what those goals are linguistically and academically, so they know what to aim for. And we can work with them on helping them to be accountable to those goals. We're working in partnership with them rather than keeping them in uh, blindfolded or keeping them in the dark about language development and acquisition and this testing that's going on, and helping them have some autonomy in the system that they're in. Just like all other kids, long-term English learners have aspirations. They have dreams and goals. And if we can tap into those, if we can let them know that they are capable and that their language is important, that being bilingual and multilingual is a valuable asset that they have, that we want to support them, that they can achieve. If we can engage with them and build those relationships and give them hope and let them know that we believe in them, we're one step ahead in the right direction. As educational leaders, whether you're a teacher of long term English learners or you're a director or a facilitator, no matter what your role is, you can lead. And helping to lead the way for long term English learners is a very important role. These kids are in a position where they need a lot of support, and making educational decisions for them is going to make an impact in how they succeed in school and after school too. So making decisions about their placements in classrooms and instructional settings is of the most importance. What we want to make sure is that long term English learners have opportunities just like all other students on their campus. We want them to have rich opportunities to engage in the classes that they need, the instruction that they need, and that their opportunities are not watered down, that their opportunities are not less than, that their opportunities are very wide and rich and varied, and that they are able to make progress as linguistic progress and academic progress, and that they see their progress and that their progress is celebrated. Many factors can contribute to a student still being designated as an English learner and now a long term English learner. Common causes include inadequate prior schooling experiences, weak English language development and instruction, inconsistent programming and curriculum experiences, and interrupted education. The best thing we can do is to prevent long term English learners. And that is, it's not an easy task, but it's doable by creating high quality educational programs and educational instruction every day for students in our classrooms. We can prevent long term English learners from happening. And to do this, all teachers need to be well equipped with teaching multilingual learners or English learners in our classrooms in every classroom, every content area. That is a big task, but it is an important task. So, our pre service teachers need to be trained and educated and well versed in knowing how to shelter instruction, knowing how to provide instruction every day for our students who are second language learners. We have to have very well established bilingual programs for our students, ESL programs. Our teachers need to be well equipped for teaching English learners in our classrooms, and our administrators need to also know what that looks like and sounds like and how to support teachers who are working with English learners and families of English learners too. Prevention is essential, but when we do have long term English learners in our schools and in our classrooms, making sure that we provide instruction for those students who are long term, that's high quality, that's targeted, that is meeting the needs of that specific child and not just the whole group itself, is also important. I advocate for an assets based approach to working with long term English learners or experienced multilingual learners, as Beth and Ton say in their newly published book, Long Term Success for Multilingual Learners. I also encourage you to look at this new resource. It is a wealth of knowledge. If you'd like more information on serving students who are multilingual learners, please go to my website at www.valentinaesl.com and know that I'm here to support you along your journey in serving students who are becoming bilingual and multilingual every day.